Hello and welcome back to the Knack for Adventure YouTube channel. My name's AJ Cutler and today is day one of a month-long challenge that I have for myself to learn how to wheelie. It's been on the list for me for a while, but I've just never consistently practiced. So I'm giving myself 1 month, 30 minutes a day. We are gonna nail this down. To start out, we have this flat, grassy area. Well, I guess it kind of has a slight uphill this way, but we're gonna set our timer for 30 minutes and get started.
Set timer for 30 minutes.
As you can tell, the first day was pretty rough. I had watched some YouTube tutorials, but bringing it from the video explanation to real life was a lot harder than I anticipated. After a couple tries, it was kind of getting better, but it wasn't until reviewing the footage afterwards that I realized I had a long way to go. I also started documenting the process on TikTok, which was really great actually because I got daily responses and advice on how to improve my strategy. However, when I saw how many little things I had to do in order to execute a proper wheelie, I did get a little bit overwhelmed. I got advice like lowering the seat, finding the perfect gear, starting slow, timing the initial pedal and pop, looking up, leaning back, keeping those arms straight, and probably the hardest thing for me, feathering the brake. But overall, I would say that the best advice that I got was to keep practicing. Just practice, 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 and one day it'll finally click. Trying to put together the perfect formula for a wheelie was a lot harder in the beginning because I was trying to put together everything all at once instead of breaking it down and learning each step. So that's when I started to start with the simplest steps and then work my way up to the more difficult ones. First is lowering the seat. And when you have a dropper post, this means that this is very easy to fix. So the first couple days I was working on wheelies, but I was also experimenting with my seat height and how it affected each of my attempts. I found that lowering my seat to about 75% was what worked for my bike geometry and body. Second thing was finding the perfect gear. While this varies on whether I'm on asphalt versus dirt versus grass, I was mostly just trying to find the perfect gear to have enough energy to bring me up into the wheelie as well as to continue while pedaling. The next step kind of correlates with the gear, and that is to start slow. Starting slower ensured that my pedals had a little bit more oomph when I started to pedal and pop up into my wheelie. And that brings us to the next piece of the puzzle, timing that initial pedal and pop. Pretty much from the first day, I realized that I had to correctly time that initial downward pedal and then popping up into the air. My right foot is dominant, so I had to start by downward pedaling on that right foot. It was definitely a lot of foot, eye, mind coordination, but eventually it did become muscle memory. So these first couple steps are what I would consider to be the most basic fixes for my wheelie journey, while the next couple steps are the ones that help me sustain a longer wheelie, and they're a little bit more tricky. And they're also things that I'm continuously working on. So next one is look up. I thought I was looking up until I would review the footage after, and then all my worst attempts are the ones where I'm looking down at my wheel or just in front of my wheel. Pretty much anytime I start a wheelie, I always have to tell myself, look up at along the horizon or something further in the distance. Next up is leaning back. Honestly, looking back at footage, I realized that the only time I was truly leaning back was the last day of this wheelie challenge. Most of my attempts from the rest of the days are me defaulting into that T-Rex stance where I'm trying to pull the bike towards me to balance it out instead of leaning back and trying to find that balance point. I do think looping out helped me overcome my fear of leaning back, so I do suggest trying that skill when you're first starting out wheelies. But be wary because when I started practicing more brake control, I found myself looping out as an opt-out, and it was a little bit of a habit that I had to break. Leaning back and the next step go hand in hand, or should I say, arm in arm. Keeping my arms straight is still very hard for me. I did get in the habit of bending my elbows, and then I ended up relying on pedaling faster to keep my wheelie up, rather than learning to straighten my arms and keep my balance. My biceps definitely felt it, and I would get fatigued fairly easily. I think I do owe a lot of my upper arm strength to this flaw, but I do want you to know that straight arms are the ultimate goal. It just creates a better position for finding the balance point. However, I also made sure not to lock them up, just so I had proper control over my handlebars. And now we come to the final battle, and that is controlling and feathering my brake in order to maintain a longer wheelie.
Use that brake. Yeah.
Not only do you have to do this in conjunction with pedaling and balancing, it's also like the hardest one to practice because you have to put together all the steps perfectly in order to actually practice it. However, I have noticed that I'm getting better at feathering my brake while out on the trail. And also I noticed that my right pointer finger is so much stronger than my left pointer finger. But for real, this journey was amazing. I definitely crashed into a mailbox on the second day, and I ended up skipping out on a couple of the days at the last of the month just because I would have just rather gone riding. But I'm still super proud for maintaining somewhat of a schedule and progressing as much as I did. I remember that whenever I was discouraged, Nick would just be like, remember, you're gonna look back at the first videos and you're not gonna believe how much you progressed. And that couldn't be more true. So let's look at one wheelie per day on my month-long wheelie challenge.
Yeah. Use that brake. Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching this little journey of mine, and I hope it inspires you to get out and do something that you've been wanting to do for a long time. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more mountain bike videos, and also check out Instagram and TikTok for more outdoor adventures. Thanks so much for watching, and keep on crushing. Holy shit, it's raining so hard outside, I need to go rain.